Welcome to Duke Devil 95. My name is Brad Burnett, and today I'm reviewing Season 3, Episode 2 of Star Trek Picard, entitled Disengage. This episode actually starts off flashing back to 2 weeks before the events of the prior episode. We see Jack Crusher piloting the starship Helios into the orbit of a planet when he's stopped by a group of Fenris Rangers. Jack tries to convince the Rangers he's simply trying to deliver medical supplies to help with a outbreak of a virus or disease on the planet, but he's unable to convince them to let him get by, and he gets boarded. After some banter and bribery with the weapons that Jack is carrying, Jack is allowed to deliver his cargo, but the Fenris Ranger sends a message to someone named the Mark Woman saying he's identified and found the location of Jack Crusher. Now we're back to the present day. On the Helios, Picard and Riker are trying to figure out what's going on with this giant enemy ship that just showed up out of nowhere. It becomes very clear very quickly that that ship massively outguns a small Helios. The enemy ship takes out Picard's shuttle, blasts it to pieces, which was part of the plan to get off the ship, to take Beverly in the medical pod and get off the ship. But now they have to come up with a new plan, try to figure out how to escape with both the Helios and Beverly's medical pod losing power. Back on the Titan, the crew knows something is going on. Seven wants to help Picard and Riker in the nebula, but Captain Shaw's not willing to risk his crew of 500 on two Starfleet officers who've gone rogue. Ultimately, Seven asks Shaw a very simple question, which is a hell of a guilt trip. Do you want to be the hero who saved two heroes, or do you want to be the captain who's known as the one who let two legends die? So then we now shift to our B story, which, of course, as I said, is my favorite character, a strung-out Starfleet officer, Raffi. Raffi's communicating with her handler after the attack on the Starfleet Recruitment Center on Metalis Prime. Her handler says, the investigation is done. They've identified the culprit. It's a Romulan rebel, and he's the one who planted the weapon. Raffi basically says that's a load of crap. She's acting all angry, all indignant, wanting to avenge the lives of the 117 people that were killed. Her handler says, no, the investigation is over, and tells her to disengage. But the bottom line is, Raffi's not having any of that. She wants to go out for blood, and she's going after her next lead, a Ferengi named Sneed. Back on the Helios, Picard is setting up a series of transporter inhibitors, and it's right in time because a transporter beam suddenly materializes from the enemy ship in the Helios' bridge, trying to transport away Jack Crusher. The inhibitors prevent it, but what does that mean? That means the bad guys over there, they want Jack Crusher. Why? We don't know just yet. Next, the enemy ship locks a tractor beam on the Helios and starts pulling it in. The ship continues to lose power. Beverly's medical pod is losing power. It looks like they're done for. And at that last second, the Titan flies right in to the tractor beam, disrupts it, breaks the Helios free, and beams out Picard, Riker, Jack, and Beverly. And as that excitement is happening, let's cut back again to Raffi. At this point, Raffi needs to find this Ferengi named Sneed, so she meets with her ex-husband or former criminal like herself to try to get some info on Sneed. She wants to use his former contacts. He asks her if she's clean. She says, no, I'm clean. I'm working for Starfleet now. He lectures her about how she treats their son and offers her a choice. He will either make contact with Sneed or make contact with their son so she can mend some fences. What does she choose? Of course she chooses Sneed. So now let's get away from Raffi again and go back to something that's actually enjoyable in a Next Generation story. Picard, Riker, and Jack are brought to the bridge. Beverly's down in sickbay. Shaw's not happy. At that point, the alien ship hails, and that's where we meet Captain Vadic, a bounty hunter who wants Jack Crusher. She says, turn him over, and she won't destroy the Titan. She then allows the Titan to scan her armaments, and this ship is loaded for bear. It would easily take out the Titan. But as a further demonstration of her intentions, she takes the tractor beam, locks it onto the Helios, and hurls the Helios at the Titan as it bounces off the shields, doing some damage to the ship. I don't even know how that even worked, but it looked kind of cool. We then learn that Jack Crusher has a hell of a criminal record, along with several criminal aliases, and Shaw throws him in the bridge. Riker confronts Picard about the obvious thing, the thing that we all know but is not being said. Who is Jack Crusher really? FYI, it's Picard's son, but we're not saying that out loud yet, even though we actually know it's Picard's son. I don't know why I'm doing the Biden whisper thing, but it's happening. Anyway, Picard goes down to the brig, tries to get some information on Jack, find out what's actually going on. Jack continues to obfuscate, and he says, look, Beverly's the one who taught me all this stuff. It's not just me involved here. Beverly's involved too. Both Picard and Jack are avoiding the obvious question. Who is Jack's father? They just share a look, but that's all that's needed at that point. Because again, we all know the answer. We're just waiting for it to happen. So now we're back with Raffi. She finally makes contact with Sneed. She's trying to get information from Sneed about who supplied the weapons that destroyed the Starfleet facility. She says she knows it wasn't the Romulan who did it because she lies and says, the Romulan is my boss. I work for him, so I know he didn't do it. Sneed is suspicious of her, so he does the classic thing of when you think you're dealing with an undercover cop, take some drugs. Because if you're an undercover cop, you're not going to take the drugs. Well, she has to prove she's not Starfleet. She wants answers. So what does our favorite strung out Starfleet addict do? She takes the drugs. She pops them in the eye, this weird little eye thing, ocular drugs, and starts basically tripping out. At that point, Sneed reveals, I know you're a liar. And how does he know he's a liar? She's a liar? Well, he's got the decapitated head of the Romulan terrorist, plants it right there on the desk. And now Raffi in her drug haze, she knows she's got no chance. She's done for. Just as Sneed's soldiers are about to get her, out of nowhere, a sword just bursts through the stomach of one of these soldiers. Brutal attack. That guy goes to the ground. We just see swords flying left and right. These soldiers are being cut down. I mean, this is not normal Trek. This is not my old Trek. This is some hardcore violent Star Trek. Gutting through the chest, and then Sneed gets freaking decapitated. His head just rolls right off. Who is doing all this? It's freaking Worf. Worf is here. He picks Raffi up, drags her out, and all he says is, I told you do not engage. Who's Raffi's handler? Raffi's handler is Worf. Okay. Now we go back to the Titan. Picard and Riker are still trying to convince Shaw not to hand over Jack. During that time, Jack breaks out of the brig and tries to beam off the ship. Why? Because he knows that if he isn't turned over, Beverly will die. So he's trying to save his mom. He's trying to transport himself to Vadic's ship. When he gets to the transporter room, he's trying to make his way out when Seven arrive and stops him. On the bridge, Picard and Shaw continue to argue, and at that point, Vadic hails, continues threatening, and tells the crew that her ship is called the Shrike. It's named for an Earthbird that slowly picks away at its prey. And that's what she intends to do to the Titan until there's nothing left. At that point says, we're done. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not losing my 500 crewmen. I'm turning over Jack Crusher. Riker then shows up the bridge carrying Beverly. And at this point, this is now where the truth is revealed. And it's not revealed in any words. You just see Picard looking at Beverly for the first time in 20 years. No voices are exchanged. It's just a series of looks. And that's all that is needed, because at that point, Jean-Luc Picard knows that Jack Crusher is his son. Shaw's about to give some orders to drop the shields and unlock the transporters. At that point, Picard pulls out his Admiral card, overrides all of Shaw's orders, and says they're not handing over Jack. Shaw pushes back, wants to know why we're not doing this. Picard simply says, because he's my son. Shaw says, God damn it, and says, battle stations. We're not giving up. We're fighting. The comms are open to the Shrike, and Vadic goes, finally, my answer. It's time. Admiral Picard, what is your response? Jean-Luc Picard, finally acting like the man in command again, says, engage. The Titan launches a series of photon torpedoes at Vadic's ship, the Shrike, and dives into the nebula. Now we're going to a starship battle, classic starship battle, Wrath of Khan style in a nebula. See you next time on episode 3, because that's where the show ends for this week. Okay, so what are my thoughts on this episode? First off, I did not like it as much as the first episode. Doesn't mean I did not like it. It's just not as much. This episode felt a little bit slower to me. There were times it was just a little drawn out. Um, I again am used to Star Trek being much more episodic than serialized. Um, but I thought things could have been tightened up a little bit. Maybe some scenes didn't need to be in there. I honestly did not like the way it opened. The kind of rock like music, or what is meant to be, I guess, 25th century modern music. It felt too JJ Trek to me. I didn't like that. The other thing that really just bothers me is I don't like the Raffi character. Um, Again, I don't know much about Raffi's character. I refer to her as the strung out drug addict Starfleet officer. Um, my experience with her is very limited on the couple episodes I saw from Picard, but it just not her character does not fit for me in the Star Trek universe as a Starfleet officer. In particular, in this episode, I thought her dialogue when she was talking with her handler about the investigation, it didn't seem natural. There was all this anger and indignation, and again, I don't know why. It just I don't know if it was the acting quality or the script, but it just did not work for me. It wasn't natural. Um, Again, my knowledge of Raffi's a little limited. Maybe that's the way it is. I guess I'd have to go back and torture myself and watch season 1 of Picard. So I don't like Raffi. I don't really want to talk about her involvement in the show. But then what do you do, Terry Matalas? What do you do? Damn it. Damn it, you make me interested now. Why? Because you team her up with Worf, one of the best TNG characters, one of my favorite characters from Next Generation and DS9. Now you make me care. Damn you, Terry Matalas. Why did you make me care about the Raffi story? Oh, shit. Damn. That's all right. Worf shows up, and he's much more brutal than we've ever seen Worf. Again, we're not talking modern Star Trek, not the more limited and violent Star Trek that we had back, 30 years ago. But flat out, look, Worf looks great. Michael Dorn looks great. I love the gray hair, the white hair, and he's a true Klingon. He's not this BS Discovery style Klingon that none of us ever recognized before. This is what Klingons looked like when they were introduced in their form that we've known for years in the original series movies and in TNG onwards. These are true Klingons. This is what they look like. It's so good to see Worf back. And I'm really excited to see what Michael Dorn is going to do with the character, because no one has played their character on Star Trek longer than Michael Dorn. He's got 7 years on Next Generation. He's got 4 years on DS9. He's got 4 movies under his belt. All is Worf. He understands his character, and I'm really interested to see what his take is on the character 20 years later now, how he plays him differently, how he's changed. Okay, so let's talk about Shaw. Um, in my prior preview, I said review rather. I said we're supposed to think him as a dick. At least that was the impression that I felt we were being given, and I still stand by that. That's the impression we're meant to be given. But maybe he's not a dick. I'm realizing now he reminds me of another captain we've seen, and that's Captain Edward Jellicoe, played by Ronnie Cox in the 2-part episode Chain of Command, where Picard, Beverly, and Worf went on a secret mission, and Jellicoe took over the ship. Jellicoe was a very different style commanding officer. He forced Troy to, get out of her relaxing counselor clothing and wear an actual uniform. Very strict by the book type of guy. I think really what we see with Shaw, similar to what we saw with Jellicoe, is a different style of captain. And the reason that is because when the captains are the main character, the forefront character in a Star Trek show, we as the audience have to be engaged with them. We have to like them. And that means I have to exert a certain amount of personality. When we see Shaw, he's not showing that type of personality. I don't know that there would be a Titan show with Captain Shaw as the lead because if the character is being portrayed as he is, he might not be relatable to the audience. Fact of the matter is, when Next Generation premiered, I was a Kirk guy. I thought Kirk was how captains were supposed to be. I see Jean-Luc Picard up there, and I'm like, who's this stuffy ass guy? Why is he got a stick up his butt? It didn't work for me. But then as I got to know him as a character and see how he commanded a starship, I got to understand him and appreciate him and like him more. Like I say, I don't know that we would see Shaw as a lead, but for what he's doing here, he's being a Starfleet officer. He's a loyal to rules and regulations. Uh, he's loyal to Starfleet, and he's loyal to his crew and ship. He's not willing to sacrifice him. Those are the marks of a commander who understands his role. The next character I want to talk about is Vadic. So, I don't know what to make of her yet. She appears to be a bounty hunter. That's all we know. But there's got to be more than that. She knew a lot about Shaw, Picard. She seemed to know a lot of things. So I feel there's more to her character than just being, dime store Boba Fett. At first, I thought the characterization was a little odd. It was a little manic or maniacal. I felt like she was bordering on a Joker-esque character in a way. But then when I watched it a second time, I got the impression that, the actress Amanda Plummer was just enjoying the slight oddity and craziness of the character. And in a way, I felt she was channeling her father portrayal of General Chang, our father being Christopher Plummer, who played General Chang in The Undiscovered Country. If you go back and watch that, you see that Chang is a little bit over the top. He's always just like pushing the edge of a little craziness. Vadic is that way too, but in a different way. So I don't know what her character is about yet, but I'm still interested in finding out. Last thing I want to talk about is Picard and Jack. Jack, again, I don't know about the character yet. I don't understand the character. He's got this giant criminal record. He's got all these aliases, but he's in his early 20s at best, because he's Picard and Beverly's son. They haven't seen each other for 20 years or so. So he's a 20-year-old kid who's this master criminal of some sort. The actor is actually in his mid-30s, I think. But this master criminal, he's learned it all from Beverly, is what he says. So what the heck happened to Beverly in those 20 years? I'm more interested to find out what happened to Beverly that made her whoever she is now. Finally, I want to talk about Jean-Luc Picard. I really got the impression now that the Jean-Luc Picard that I saw, that we all saw in Next Generation and in the movies, is actually being portrayed. In the first couple seasons, the impression I got was he's this old, tired, washed up, apologetic, ragged old officer, feeling sorry for himself. Now again, we're seeing Jean-Luc Picard in command. He's doing things that are tactically smart. He's putting up the transport inhibitors. He's interrogating Jack. He's pulling rank on Shaw, and he's back in command. Sorry about the dog. Someone's very excited about this review as well as I am, apparently. It's just good to see Patrick Stewart playing Jean-Luc Picard as we knew him to be. Like I say, overall, this episode was not as good for me as the first one, but Terry Matalas has not done anything yet that has offended me as a Star Trek fan, and I'm still interested to see what's next. As soon as I'm done with this video, I'm going to go and watch episode 3. So until next time, questions, comments, witticisms down below. Click all the good buttons that you like to click on YouTube, and I'll see you next time.